Okay, so we're recording finally. So I wanted to just go over last weekend's activities. Last weekend, Saturday, I got to meet Jeremy of Dark Thrills and Chills, and we hung out at Copperfish, and we discussed books, and we talked about all kinds of great things that were book related, and had a good time. So I wanted to just go over the book that he recommended. I had seen it before. It wasn't my first time hearing about it or seeing it. I actually had it on my Instagram book wish list. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but I have highlights, and one of them is wish list, and that's just a wish list of mostly books, but also a few other book related things or geeky type things in there. But so it was on my wish list for like months, but then I kind of forgot about it. And then there's been a lot of talk about this book lately. So it's been, one of those books that kind of popped back up. And I said, oh, yeah, that's on my wish list. I should really check that out. So then Jeremy actually has a YouTube channel that you should go check out. It's also Dark Thrills and Chills, and he had a video where he did a review and he recommends this book. And this book is The Whisper Man. So we met up at Copperfish Books, and we were just hanging out, talking, and I brought some books for him to read. And then we found this book, or he told me about this book and he found it. And I ended up buying it based on his recommendation. I kind of had hoped that I would have been given this book as a gift, but I just couldn't wait like till Christmas or whatever. It's been around for a while. So I finally picked it up. I haven't read it yet. I have so many things that I should be reading and I need to get to, but this is definitely one that I want to read and go back and discuss with Jeremy after I've finished reading it. So I'm super excited about that. Okay, so tons of books. So this is another one that's been all over Instagram, and I just really love the cover. And I think there's been quite a bit of talk about this. A lot of people on Instagram have been posting it, but I don't really know, other than reading the back, what it's about too much. There's a lot of quotes, a lot of, people saying that this is a great one. And the first one on here is from Joe Hill. And he says, if you aren't blown away by the first 50 pages of Imaginary Friend, you need to get your sense of wonder checked. So that's a pretty good recommendation. And it's basically another one of your thrillers, and I just love thrillers, and that's why Jeremy and I were able to connect, because we both love thrillers. So I'm excited to read this. And then I have a bunch of stuff here. So not last weekend, but actually probably about a month ago, I had gone over to Copperfish Books and was just kind of looking around and didn't really have a book in mind, but I happened to be talking with Kathy and some of the other ladies at the bookstore, and they said, you really have to pick this up. And it was highly recommended. It's been all over Instagram. Everyone loves this book, and I still have no idea if I'm going to like it or not, but I hope that I like it as much as everyone else does. It seems like that is usually the case, but there have been a few times where I've been kind of disappointed by books that, were mainstream and everyone's been talking about, and then people post all over their page, and I go and I read it, and I'm like, I don't get why everybody loves this book so much. So I'm a little leery still, but I hope that I will like it as much as everyone says I will. One of the things that some of you may or may not know about me is that I try to read more than just horror or thrillers, but I find that those are my favorite genres. I've tried stepping outside the box and reading dramas or women's lit, historical fiction, and it just doesn't work for me. But I'm still trying. I still try to remain open-minded. One author that I kind of have sworn off, though, is Nick Cutter. And a few of you know this already because a couple of people have talked to me about it. I just can't. I read two books from Nick Cutter, The Deep and The Troop. And I really tried to absorb everything and try to, immerse myself into those books. And I read them both, and I thought, this guy is just so disgusting. It's so gross. It's very graphic. If you like that sort of thing, that's great. I'm happy for you. It just isn't my thing. I'm not about gross out. The gross out factor is just, it's not for me. So after two books, I'm like, two times, that's it. That's enough. I don't need to give you a third chance. So I'm really not a fan of Nick Cutter, unfortunately. So this book I picked up again at Copperfish based on Lizzie's recommendation. It's actually December's sci-fi book club meeting book. So we are reading this for our meeting that we will be having in December at Copperfish. I haven't read this yet, and the only reason is because I am just not in the frame of mind right now to be reading as much as I used to. And I am currently reading a different one that I was given. It's an arc, and I'll get to that one shortly. So I'm trying to finish the arc so that I can do my review, but hopefully I'll get to this one soon, and hopefully in time for the meeting. So this is All Systems Red by Martha Wells, and this is a book that Lizzie picked herself because she liked it. I hope it's good. It's not a big book, so it should go quickly. But yeah, if you haven't already followed Liz is Mundane, you need to go follow her. She's a sweetheart. And I'll tell you about the Ren Fair pretty soon after we get through this. Another author that I like is Louise Penny. And this is a series that I have not read, but it comes recommended. And this was the slip. And I asked Kathy, who is kind of like the owner, the co-owner at Copperfish Books, if I could have this, because this is the card that kind of like said, hey, you need to get this book. It kind of, stood out amongst all the other books that were on that shelf. And I said, okay, I'm going to take a look at it and see, if it's any good. So this is the first book in the series with Inspector Gamache and the Village of Three Pines. And I hope that I like this book so that I can continue the series. So that's my hope for that. And then, as I was buying my books at Copperfish, they have a really great rack next to the register. And anyone who purchases more than $25 at one time can pick an arc off of that rack, and that's your gift. So this was the arc that I picked. I have no idea what this book is about, but as I was going through all of the books on the rack, I thought this is the one that most fits with my taste, the type of books that I like to read. Everything else just kind of didn't really stand out to me. So if you've read this book, I would very much appreciate if you comment or send me a DM and let me know if you liked it and if I should read it. Okay. And then another thing we did last weekend is we went to the Ren Fair, which Liz is Mundane also is at every weekend, I believe, for the entire run of the Ren Fair. They don't call it the Ren Fair here, but it is. It's the Sarasota Medieval Fair, and it is in Sarasota. And we drove up there last Sunday, and we had fun looking at all the stuff that they had there. I bought something, of course, that I probably shouldn't have because it was expensive, but I just think it's so beautiful. It's really gorgeous. It's just an empty journal, or you can use it as a sketch pad, but I really love it. You can take the book out and reuse it as a book cover, so I love that about it. It wasn't inexpensive. It was kind of expensive, but I just could not walk away from this because I thought it was just so pretty. It's leather, and I just love the color. I love the craftsmanship of it, and I love just the detail in here. So I'm a big fan of this. This is very pretty to me, that kind of work, that kind of detail. So I got this, and I have no regrets, even though my husband was not very happy about the amount of money that was spent on this. But I would highly recommend, if you're in the Sarasota area, to go to the Ren Fair or the Medieval Fair and check it out. They have an amazing bunch of actors and performers, and we really enjoyed the Wheel of Death. My son liked that. I liked it too. The guy who was running and jumping through the Wheel of Death is very comical, and he was very entertaining, so I definitely recommend that if you're in the area in Sarasota. So also, if you're in the Punta Gorda area, I definitely recommend my favorite indie bookstore, Copperfish Books. They will help you out, and they're super nice and fun, and very much a bunch of readers and bookstagrammers, and I definitely recommend that you go to Copperfish Books in Punta Gorda. So that's my haul, if you will, and I hope you all are enjoying your Sunday, enjoying your weekend, and relax and enjoy the rest of your day.